Well, whew, we've covered a lot in this lecture series, and before we wrap up for good, I just want to walk us through what we have learned. First of all, individual depth interviewing or IDIs or in-depth interviewing is about much more than just asking questions. It's about guiding our participants to clear answers to enable us to get the information that we are looking for. And the more that we can work as leaders and guides and partners with them in getting that information, the better the interview process will go. Secondly, good interviews are more like a conversation than a scripted event. True, the interviewer is going to be asking questions. True, the interviewer has a script that they may be following, especially in a structured interview. However, the more conversational it can feel and seem to the participant, the better the interview is going to go and the better information you're going to get. The third thing is that interviews can be structured, semi-structured, unstructured, or informal. And please remember these because these will probably show up on an exam somewhere. But structured means that there is very little deviation from the script that's provided because we want to try to limit the individual style of every interviewer and make sure that the survey is being administered the same way, no matter who's doing the interviewing. Semi-structured means that we have a guide that usually has questions and probes that are written in, but there's some deviation that's allowed, some personal style that's allowed, and that often means that those studies are conducted by fewer interviewers, maybe even just one. Unstructured means that we might have some questions or dot points, but we're not really trying to focus on writing questions before the interview. We're really more focusing on content and trying to get people to speak up in a way that helps us to understand something. And so that might be used for a small number of interviews or with subject matter experts or with other folks who are able to talk to us in a way that we don't need a lot of structure in order to understand what they have to say. And then informal is more like a coffee shop interview where it's something where we're just kind of talking to someone and we're really more concerned about what we can take away from it in terms of advice or perspective than we are about the actual data that are being created or collected. Good interviewers make the process comfortable, easy, and engaging for the participant. I talked a lot about this in the last couple of lectures, so please remember that that's part of your duty as an interviewer is to make sure that your participants are feeling like they are in a comfortable and engaging and exciting setting where they can share things with you. You'll get so much better data, but you will also enjoy the process, and so will your participants. And finally, there are several techniques available that can be used to go beyond perceptual data, which is just asking people what they think and feel, and uncover other types of information. And some of those things that we talked about included behavioral, situational, or stimulus response types of data, as well as data that come from exercises or which come from techniques like projectives or things along those lines. And all of those are designed to get different types of information that can be useful to us in trying to gain a deeper understanding of our subject matter. Well, with all that said, I'd like to take you back to my friend Dumbledore as we close. If you recall, I allowed myself to get sucked into feeling too strongly for a needy and lonely old man, and I annoyed the research team and created some useless data for our project. My company president, David Rich, used it as a teachable moment to help me to learn how to be a better interviewer, and I am sincerely glad to have had that opportunity. But at the same time, I've often thought about Dumbledore and how difficult it was that day for him to come and speak to me. It wasn't my fault, or anybody else's, that he was a poor participant. Maybe the recruiter could have screened him better. But the truth of the matter is that he was a human being who was dealing with very human feelings and emotions. And we as researchers need to acknowledge that no matter how we try to design things, human feelings and emotions are going to intervene from time to time and disrupt what we are trying to accomplish. I can be faulted for conducting a lousy interview. I'll take responsibility for that. But what I can't be faulted for is the way that I spoke to this gentleman in the hour that we had together. I practiced everything that I've preached about listening, about being in the moment, about showing empathy and caring sincerely about the person involved. I put the needs of the participant above my own, and for that, I'm willing to be wrong from time to time. Throwing out some data is an inconvenience, but prizing data above the person who you're asking to provide it, that's something that I never want to be accused of. And I encourage you all to strive to do the same.